Thank you so much, Chair Hawley, for holding this hearing. You and Ranking Member Durbin, really appreciate your attention to this. And thank you to each of you for being here today and being willing to tell your story. As a mom of 2 school-age kids myself, I have a 15 and a 16-year-old, and trying to parent in this environment is in many days beyond comprehension. And when you add additional things like this, where parents so often don't have the tools they need or aren't fully engaged. I think you said earlier, engaged in knowing what's happening. I think one of you said 3 out of 4 children is utilizing this, but really only 37% of parents are aware. So it's, how do we bring awareness, but also how do we put the proper safeguards up to save lives and ultimately promote a healthier environment for this. So I just want to say thank you for being here, and thank you for being willing to tell your story and lend your voice to this as we try hard to do better and to get this right. Dr. Greenstein, I have obviously long been concerned about the toll of social media in general on kids. You look at the stats, 1 in 3 high school young women, considering death by suicide, then 25% making a plan. And you look at all of what's actually happening to our children in high school. You look at what social media and the impacts of that on all of this that's occurring. And then in your written testimony, you stated that 40% of AI apps are used by children or some form of an AI companion app. And so we're adding an entirely new element to what we know was already challenging. Can you describe some of the dangers with America's youth substituting real human relationships for AI chatbots?
So it might be surprising, but when you look at the science, it's very clear that our relationships with others in adolescence are actually some of the strongest predictors we have, not just for happiness and satisfaction, but for our salaries, our health, even our mortality, is based on the quality of our adolescent social relationships 40 years earlier. Well, now we're swapping out human relationships for relationships with a robot. And the bot is programmed to trick people into thinking that they feel, that they care, that they have a relationship with them. For every moment that a child is interacting with a bot, they're not only getting inappropriate interaction because it is obsequious and it is deceptive, but they're lacking the opportunity to go have those adolescent experiences they need to thrive because they might have been interacting with humans during that time otherwise. This is a crisis. This is a crisis for our species. Literally, this is the defining characteristic of what makes us human, is our ability to have social relationships. Never before have we been in a situation where we have a cohort of children who are now displacing quite a lot of their social relationships with humans for relationships with companies, profit-mongering, data mining tools.
What's the long-term effect of not being able to develop that during the adolescent space?
Well, we need desperately more research that we can do to look at the long-term effects of AI, because of course AI just started. But what we can say is we right now live in a crisis of loneliness and polarization and hostility, and some have suggested—
We've never been more connected than ever, but never been further apart.
You got it. You got it. And I think that what's happening with youth on tech right now is something we need to look incredibly carefully at if we want to understand why our social relationships—
And look, it's hard. I mean, as a
apart.
parent, you have, your kids, they don't know what uniform to wear because the captain of the team is snapping out, oh, we're going to wear blue instead of yellow. And if you don't have Snap, then you don't know where you're going. Or you have other friends that then, we've seen everything from— It has been incredibly challenging to try to kind of sort of figure this out. But that relationship aspect, this year in Alabama, the children do not have phones in the classroom. And the teachers have said that it has been remarkable, the shift that has been, number one, the engagement in the classroom back and forth, the asking questions, the doing it, but then the hallways. They said the chatter in the hallways has brought joy to their hearts, hearing them talk to each other in the hall instead of looking down and moving forward. So to your point, this is a long-term looking at the effects of this and now this new element in it. I think we're gonna have to be very, very intentional. Mr. Torney, I know that your organization has undertaken research to determine how some of these AI platforms pose risk to children. Can you describe some of the more troubling interactions that you have seen or heard about or know of with chatbots during your research, so that the subcommittee can really understand the scope of the problem? I know you mentioned earlier that they even teach you how to hide this from your parents, and I believe in parental engagement, and anybody that's teaching kids to run away from their parents versus to their parents for conversation and consultation is a real red flag.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, we've engaged in very rigorous testing of AI chatbots, and there has been a range of harmful content that we've seen in testing: sexual role play, illegal sexual scenarios, self-harm, illegal drug use simulations. You name it. If it's on the internet and it's a harm that you can identify for kids.
I read somewhere that self-harm and then teaching you how to cover up that self-harm.
Yes. Self-harm and bringing it back up later. If it's on the internet and it's a harm that you can imagine, chatbots will talk about it. And as Dr. Prinstein said earlier, that's because that information is in these bots' training data.
So I have 1 minute left, and I just want to say a huge thank you to Senator Hawley and to Senator Blackburn. They have both been leading on this issue since the moment they got to the United States Senate and even before that. And it is an honor to be able to work alongside both of them in trying to address these things. As you sit here in front of us today, if you could say, here's the one thing I wish that these AI companies would do, or here's the one thing if Congress did, I believe it would make a difference based on your experience. If you will just take just a minute, we'll go down the way. If you will tell me what that is, I would greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you, first of all, for listening to us today. I really do feel like with this technology that our children have become experimental instead of like testing and beta testing and making sure that it's safe before it's even put out to market. And that would be my first thought, is these things don't have regulations. They're just released without any kind of safeguard at first. So we just at first need some kind of safeguard knowingly, so that parents know that if something is put out, that there's already been safeguards put into place and regulated that can be trusted. Because now, after this experience, you never think this is going to happen to you. You never think it's going to be your family, just like other tragedies out in this world. And if we would have known, then we could have been guarded. Just like if you take your child and walk across the road, you can hold their hand and you can tell them if it's safe or not. We were blindsided by these apps and blindsided by everything that has happened. And if we just would have known that the 12 plus rating wasn't actually a 12 plus rating, then we would have been more cautious to say stop.
Mr. Chairman, I know that I'm out of time. Do you mind if they briefly each continue answering the question? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Congress can, like Mandy said, start with regulation to prevent companies from testing products on our children and releasing products before they're properly tested and suitable for children. They could also force companies to release the research because they know what these companies are doing. We don't. They're not giving the public the knowledge that we need to protect our children. And as far as these companies, right now as it stands, I don't think that chatbot technology in its current form is safe for children. So if they could stop children from going on their platforms, don't make it 12 plus in your app store, have proper age verification so that children under the age of 18 do not have access to chatbots. I think that would save a lot of lives and save families from devastation.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Mr. Rain.
I think parental controls are the very, very minimum here, but that doesn't address what, they have to be on there, and there weren't, at least with ChatGPT 4.0, but that doesn't address the systemic problem of, I don't want a 20-year-old to be talked to the way my son was by a chatbot either. You know, if these things are going to be as powerful and as addictive, they need some sense of morality built into them. You know, why is it not, you know, the norm, self-harm and suicide are bad in there? ChatGPT seemed to take the opposite position of that, or at best case, sometimes a neutral position, but there was no morality built in whatsoever. The problem is systemic, and I don't believe that they can't fix it. If you go to ChatGPT right now and try to talk about some politically sensitive topics, it will shut down and you cannot work around it. Try it. They can do it. They didn't do that for self-harm or suicide, but they can absolutely not allow the kind of conversation that killed my son.
Thank
So
you.
it's a systemic, broader thing, above and beyond just the controls.
Completely agree with you. Thank you.
Robust age assurance and no AI companions for minors.
Thank you.
For youth in particular, frequent reminders that AI is not human. They should not be able to call themselves a therapist or a mental health professional. Do not use and sell kids' data. And
amen.
determine who is liable when AI causes harm.
Thank you so much.